April 4th, 1994, at Amsterdam's Schiphol International Airport, a pivotal moment unfolds. A regional flight, designated as Sokailamsi Tikhoper 433, prepares for takeoff. 24 souls are aboard, comprised of 21 passengers and 3 crew members, each one unaware of the events that will soon transpire. This flight is set to be operated by a Saab 430B, a passenger turboprop aircraft manufactured by the Swedish company Saab. Released into service in 1990, this aircraft was entrusted to KLM's Tikhoper division, showcasing a design well-suited for short-haul journeys. Equipped with economical General Electric engines and a commendable passenger capacity, it has logged 6,558 flight hours by this fateful day. Today, it will embark on a journey lasting 1.5 hours, traversing the North Sea from Amsterdam to Cardiff. As the passengers settle into their seats, the cockpit buzzes with the focused energy of pre-flight preparations. Seated in the left seat is 37-year-old Captain Gerrit Levoord, a seasoned pilot with KLM Tikhoper, boasting 265 flight hours, nearly half of which were accumulated on the Saab 430. To his right, 34-year-old First Officer Paul Stassen commands the right seat, with a total of 1,718 hours under his belt, including an impressive 1,334 hours specifically on the Saab. For Captain Levoord, this flight marks his second shift of the day. Earlier that morning, the crew successfully completed a round trip to Southampton, returning to Amsterdam. The route to Cardiff has become second nature for them. In the past 3 months, the captain has flown it 7 times, while the first officer has done so 4. This familiarity fosters a deceptive sense of security, a lurking danger masked by routine. On this day, calculations were performed without incident. The aircraft's takeoff weight settled at 12,589 kilograms, comfortably below the maximum allowable weight of 13,155 kilograms. The fuel tanks were filled with 1,830 kilograms of fuel, ample for the short journey and any potential diversion to Bristol.
At 12 hours and 11 minutes, the pilots finalized their pre-flight checks, receiving clearance from the tower for pushback and engine start. The aircraft taxis smoothly, positioning itself on runway 6. Just 7 minutes later, the control tower grants takeoff clearance. With engines roaring to life, the Saab lifts off from the tarmac of Schiphol, setting a course for Cardiff. Initially, the pilots aim to climb to an altitude of 14,000 feet or 4,260 meters. However, as rain clouds loom ominously over the North Sea, the crew requests to ascend to a safer cruising altitude of 20,000 feet or 6,100 meters to circumvent turbulence. The autopilot is engaged and the aircraft begins its ascent, slicing through the clouds towards the journey ahead, unaware of the challenges that lie in wait. In the cockpit, an unspoken tension lingers, unnoticed by the crew, as time slips away. Just 6 minutes remain before their world is irrevocably altered. During the climb, engines operate at the edge of their limits, straining to defy gravity. It is in this critical phase that monitoring vital systems, oil pressure and temperature becomes paramount. Any deviation from the norm could herald the catastrophic failure of an expensive engine, or worse yet, a fire. At 12:30, as the aircraft ascends through flight level 165, tranquility is shattered by the piercing alarm of the master warning system. This is the primary alert, demanding immediate attention. On the central warning panel, the oil pressure indicator illuminates, signaling low oil pressure in the right engine. Let's delve deeper into this alarming situation. The Central Warning Panel, or CVP, serves as an aircraft's bulletin board for malfunctions. The master warning signal is a standard alarm that compels the pilot to glance at the panel, deciphering which system has faltered. The captain's response to this warning is swift yet hasty. Instead of analyzing the situation, he instinctively pulls the throttle of the right engine back to idle. His rationale is straightforward. If there's no oil in the engine, he must reduce the load immediately to prevent a seize. In an instant, the torque of the right engine plummets by 78% to a mere 10. The captain commands the first officer to initiate the emergency checklist, a crucial compile. Yet, at this critical juncture, the first technical trap closes in. Despite the glaring oil pressure light on the warning panel, the gauge in the cockpit indicates a pressure above 50 psi. For the Sub 340 aircraft, a reading between 45 and 55 pounds per square inch falls within the green zone, indicating normal operation. However, the crew is already under the strain of stress. The reality of acceptable oil pressure is misinterpreted as a sign of engine health, creating a sense of unease. Tension thickens in the cockpit, and dark clouds gather ominously in the distance. In aviation, rules are sacrosanct. When faced with a malfunction, the crew is mandated to adhere strictly to the emergency checklist and the principles of crew resource management, or CRM. This entails mutual oversight and thorough verification of all data before any decisions are made. In this high-stakes environment, every heartbeat counts, every decision weighs heavily, and the fate of the aircraft hangs in the balance. The crew stands at a crossroads where instinct battles protocol and clarity becomes a fragile thread in the storm of uncertainty. On Flight 433, a classic failure of crew resource management unfolds, unraveling a series of critical decisions that will determine the fate of all on board. The commander and the first officer find themselves ensnared in a web of contradictions, locked in a struggle they cannot resolve. A brief electrical short causes the low oil pressure indicator to illuminate, a warning that sends shockwaves through the cockpit. Commander Levard, overwhelmed by the urgency of the moment, instinctively shifts into a mode of damage control, attempting to save the aircraft. The needle on the pressure gauge indicates a healthy reading, above 50 pounds per square inch, suggesting that the engine is functioning properly. Yet, this very anomaly becomes a source of confusion, leading him down a perilous path. In a moment of myopic focus, the commander succumbs to tunnel vision. His attention fixates on the alarming warning light, clouding his ability to objectively assess the situation through the instruments that surround him. In a grave miscalculation, he reduces the thrust of the functioning engine to idle. Meanwhile, First Officer Stassen begins reciting the emergency checklist with clarity and precision, articulating the rationale behind the system's logic. He emphasizes that if the warning light is illuminated but the pressure remains above 30 pounds per square inch, there is no need to shut down the engine. Normal operation should continue. Yet, Commander Levard finds himself ensnared in the trap of confirmation bias. This cognitive distortion leads individuals to seek, interpret, and favor information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs while disregarding contradictory facts. The glowing warning light fuels his anxiety, prompting him to seek validation for his fears. He notes that the pressure in the right engine is slightly lower than in the left, a detail that further ignites his concern. Yet he overlooks a crucial fact. Oil pressure naturally decreases when thrust is reduced. The true error lies not in a fear of the warning light itself, but in the misinterpretation of the redundant systems at play. In the Saab 340, the warning light is activated by the pressure relay, while the needle is governed by a separate sensor. These are two independent systems, and when they contradict each other, the needle gauge must take precedence. At 12:32, Commander Levard makes a fateful decision. He opts to return to Schiphol, yet instead of either operating the engine normally or shutting it down completely, he leaves it at idle. This half measure transforms a functioning engine into a colossal air brake. Moments later, the crew transmits a pan-pan signal, a call for urgency. They inform air traffic control of their engine troubles and initiate their return to the ground. The approach to Schiphol demands precision akin to that of a master jeweler. Landing with asymmetric thrust presents a daunting challenge, both physically and psychologically. The stakes have never been higher as they navigate the precarious balance between control and chaos. The left engine operates smoothly, while the right remains stubbornly at low power. In aviation, the term flighting or physicking describes this precarious balance. When an engine fails, the pilot must align the propeller blade edge to the airflow, minimizing aerodynamic drag. Yet, Captain Levard chooses a different path. The right propeller continues to spin, generating immense drag that pulls against the aircraft's intended flight. At 12:44, the plane passes the outer marker. Pilots deploy the landing gear and set the flaps to 20 degrees. Speed registers at 142 knots, but the descent begins, a relentless decline. The second pilot notes a critical detail. The rudder is fully deflected to the left, signaling the aircraft's desperate struggle against asymmetric thrust. As speed dwindles to 120 knots, he warns the captain to monitor the velocity. The situation worsens. Speed drops to 115 knots, and the aircraft veers off the centerline. At a mere 15 meters above the ground, Captain Levard realizes the landing is slipping away. In that moment, he makes a fateful decision, one that will seal their grim fate. He shouts to the second pilot, "Going around, set torque, flap 7, gear up." With urgency, he thrusts the left engine to 98% power, while the right engine stubbornly clings to its low setting. A catastrophic imbalance ensues. The left wing surges upward, while the right, ensnared by the drag of its propeller, pulls the aircraft downward. The nose rises steeply, triggering the stall warning alarm, a harbinger of impending disaster. The control stick begins to shake violently. The last opportunity to rectify the course lies in relinquishing control. In this high-stakes moment, Captain Levard grapples with cognitive overload. His mind struggles to process the chaos, to make one last crucial decision. Speed plummets to a critical 97 knots, and the right roll increases alarmingly. The stall warning blares again, yet the aircraft's roll becomes unmanageable. The pilots fail to fully utilize the rudder to counteract the roll, and at 12:46, with an 80-degree bank, the aircraft crashes into the soft, damp earth, just 560 meters from the runway's edge. The impact is so severe that the right wing is torn from the fuselage, engulfed in flames. The main fuselage flips over, coming to rest on its left side. The devastation is profound. 3 lives are lost in this calamity, Captain Levard and 2 passengers. 9 others suffer serious injuries, including the second pilot, Stason. The echoes of this tragedy resonate, a haunting reminder of the thin line between control and chaos in the skies. A survivor emerged from the wreckage, forever marked by the trauma that erased all memories of the disaster. As investigators from the Dutch Aviation Safety Board arrived at the crash site, they were met with a perplexing scene. The remains of the Saab 340 lay strewn across the muddy terrain, but an initial examination revealed no signs of explosion, structural failure in flight, or systemic malfunctions. The key to unraveling this enigma lay within the cockpit voice recorders, commonly known as the black boxes. A rigorous technical analysis of the General Electric engines sent shockwaves through the investigative team. Both engines were found to be in impeccable working condition. Yet the right engine, the one at the heart of the tragedy, contained oil, and all its components functioned flawlessly. The investigation unveiled a minute component within the oil relay system where a brief electrical short circuit occurred.
This singular malfunction was enough to close the electrical circuit and illuminate a warning light on the control panel. The engine, it turned out, had been pleading for assistance while remaining entirely operational. Further scrutiny of the control systems, including the ailerons and flaps, confirmed their normal functioning at the moment of impact. The only anomaly was the human element within the cockpit. Autopsy findings revealed a crucial detail that painted a vivid picture of the tense atmosphere inside the cabin. Commander Levard was not secured by his shoulder harness. Upon impact, his body was thrust forward against the control yoke, exacerbating the severity of his injuries. Yet, the pivotal question remains: how did seasoned professionals allow this sequence of errors to unfold? The answer lies deeply rooted in the complexities of human behavior. The first factor was a psychological trap that ensnared the commander. It surfaced that he had previously been a second pilot involved in an engine failure incident that culminated in a successful return to Amsterdam. On that fateful day of April 4th, under stress, the commander's mind conjured a familiar script, prompting him to act according to past patterns, neglecting to analyze the present data critically. The second factor was a failure in crew interaction. The second pilot noted that the pressure was normal and voiced this observation. However, within the hierarchical structure of the cockpit, the commander's authority was unquestioned. The second pilot lacked the assertiveness to challenge the commander's decisions, even when they contradicted the situation's dynamics and checklists. Finally, the third factor involved documentation discrepancies.
Investigators discovered that the operational manual used in the cockpit deviated from the manufacturer's guidelines for the Saab aircraft. This misalignment added yet another layer of complexity to an already tragic narrative. As the pieces of this intricate puzzle fell into place, the chilling realization emerged. Human errors, compounded by psychological predispositions and procedural inconsistencies, can lead to catastrophic outcomes. The echoes of this disaster serve as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between human judgment and the unforgiving nature of aviation. Confusion reigned among the crew as they navigated the complexities of asymmetric thrust. A catastrophic incident unfolded, triggered by a deadly combination of a false signal, inadequate preparation, and the commander's cognitive bias, which the co-pilot failed to intercept in time. In the aftermath, critical changes were instituted to prevent such tragedies from recurring. Now, if a warning light contradicts the primary instrument, pilots are mandated to trust the instrument until proven otherwise. Should the crew suspect an engine failure, the protocol is clear. The engine must be completely shut down and the propeller feathered to minimize drag. The small throttle setting during the approach is akin to an invisible parachute, poised to deploy at the most significantly enhanced. Mandatory drills now include go-arounds with a single inoperative engine, particularly at dangerously low altitudes. Had the pilots merely advanced the right rudder, the disaster could have been averted. The weight of these lessons lingers, a stark reminder of the thin line between safety and catastrophe.